President Castellanos, live stream is now in progress. You may turn on your mic and start the meeting.
Good evening and welcome to the August 16th, 2023 regular board meeting of the Capistrano Unified School District. The meeting is now in session and the time is 6 p.m. Please note Trustee Davis is currently not with us.
She'll be joining us in closed session when we get a connection.
Okay, thank you. Mrs. Hayes, please call the roll.
Trustee Bullicus.
Here.
Trustee Davis.
Here.
Trustee Jones.
Here.
Trustee Pritchard.
Present.
Trustee Hanachek.
Here.
Trustee Parham.
Here.
Trustee Castellanos.
Here. Please note Trustee Davis is teleconferencing into the board meeting this evening. Therefore, all votes shall be roll call. Her location is posted on the agenda. Mrs. Hayes, before the board recesses to closed session, is there anyone who would like to speak to a closed session agenda item?
There are none.
Okay, the board will now recess to closed session to address the following agenda items. A, conference with legal counsel, anticipated litigation, significant exposure to litigation, 2 cases, social media case action lawsuit, significant exposure to litigation, 1 case, conference with legal counsel, existing litigation, significant exposure to litigation, 2 cases, conference with labor negotiators, CUEA, CSEA, Teamsters, KUMA, and unrepresented employees. Conference with real property negotiators, property South Transportation and Groundskeeping Facility. The board will now recess to closed session.
President Castellanos, you may turn on your mic and open the meeting.
Good evening and welcome to the August 16th, 2023 regular board meeting of the Capistrano Unified School District. The meeting is now in session and the time is 7:10 p.m. Trustee Davis is teleconferencing into the board meeting this evening. Therefore, all votes shall be by roll call. Her location is posted on the agenda. On behalf of the board, I'd like to introduce and welcome Tyler Pierce. Tyler is our new student board member for the 23-24 school year. Tyler is a senior this year and attends San Clemente High School, so please welcome Tyler. As a reminder, per board policy 9323 meeting conduct, requests to address the Board of Trustees will be accepted only until 30 minutes after the start of open session. Tonight, we have Spanish interpreters attending this evening's board meeting, and they are available in the back room. If you have any students registered to speak this evening on any agenda item, we will hear them before any adult speaker. Please note on agenda item 12B5, order form with Smartest Ed Incorporated formative, the annual license applies to all secondary teachers, not 184. Regarding items 12B20, 12B21, and 12B22, staff is pulling them from the agenda. On agenda item 13A6, resolution number 2324-12, committing 2023-24 adopted fund balances, staff has corrected a typo on page 2. The chart should read as LCFF supplemental. Moving on to oral communications is an opportunity for the public to comment on issues that are not on tonight's agenda. Per board policy, the total time allotted for oral communications is 20 minutes with a maximum of 3 minutes per speaker. The per speaker time may be less if there is a large number of speakers. Under California law, board members cannot respond to a non-agenda oral communication comment. We would also like to note that while the public has the right to speak, the district does not condone speech that may be perceived as hateful or discriminatory. The purpose of a school or school district is to teach. In addition to typical academic subjects, we want to teach young people appropriate behavior and respect for other points of view. What our students are watching and listening to all of us. We appreciate your support tonight in modeling respectful and productive public discourse for our students and our community. Thank you so much. And Mrs. Hayes, please call the roll.
Student board member Pierce.
Here.
Trustee Bullicus.
Here.
Trustee Davis.
Here.
Trustee Davis is here and she did respond. Trustee Jones.
Here.
Trustee Pritchard.
Present.
Trustee Hanachek.
Here.
Trustee Parham.
Here.
Trustee Castellanos.
Here. Okay. The Pledge of Allegiance will be led by Ms. Palazzo Campbell.
Wear the right shirt. You should have told me. I could have dressed up. Okay, ready. Right hand of your heart. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. You may be seated.
Thank you. May I have a motion to adopt the agenda? Moved by trustee Parham, seconded by trustee Hanachek. Ms. Hayes, please call the roll.
Pardon me one moment. Could I make an amendment and which would be to hear 13A 8 through 15 before the other discussion action items? Those are the CFDs, and I know it was Mr. Weaver is here. I just thought we might be able to have him come first so he could not have to stay for the whole meeting. Would that be acceptable?
Well, can you say the item number again, Gayla? Wait, I missed it.
A 8 through 15. That's
Eight.
all.
Well, that's all of them.
These, yes.
Okay. Okay. So I need a. Okay, moved by trustee Parham, a second.
Second.
Okay, seconded by trustee Bolkus. All those in favor? Aye. Or do we have to roll call? Yes, roll call. We need a roll call.
Student Board Member Pierce.
Here. Oh, aye.
Thank you. Trustee Willikis.
Aye.
Trustee Davis. Trustee Jones.
Aye.
Trustee Pritchard.
Aye.
Trustee Hannachek. Trustee Parham.
Aye.
Trustee Costians.
Aye, motion carries 7-0 by roll call vote to adopt the amended agenda with preferential vote of aye from our student board member Pierce. Okay, Mrs. Hayes, please read the report out from closed session.
On agenda item 3A, conference with legal counsel, anticipated litigation, trustees voted on agenda items A1 and A2 7-0 to approve staff recommendation on the following cases. ADR case number 20230705, ADR case number 20230706. On agenda item A3, no reportable action. On agenda item A4, trustees gave direction to staff. On agenda item 3B, conference with legal counsel, existing litigation, items B1 and B2, trustees voted 7-0 to approve staff recommendation on the following cases. OAH case number 2023-040675 and OAH case number 2023-040835. On agenda item 3C, conference with labor negotiators, no reportable action. On agenda item 3D, conference with real property negotiators, trustees gave direction to staff, and that concludes my report.
Thank you, Ms. Hayes. At this time, I'd like to recognize Dr. Chris Brown to present superintendent opening comments.
Good evening, everybody. I just have a few brief comments before we get started. First of all, I just want to say that I hope all of our students, families, teachers, and staff members had a really smooth and productive first 2 days of school. I know all of us and staff were out at campuses for the first day of school visiting. And the amount of work that was put in by staff and by teachers to prepare their classrooms, by PTSA groups to prepare the outside to welcome students back. It was really impressive. I visited Oak Grove, Don Juan Avila Middle School and Elementary School, and Aliso Niguel High School on the morning of the first day. You know, interacted with parents, interacted with students, walked to classrooms, and it was really great to have them back. I was telling someone earlier, I feel like the summer is a lot of work, but I don't feel like we're really actually back at it until our students are with us. So I'm welcoming them back. And then specific to tonight's agenda, so the reason that staff pulled 3 items, they were the response to the Orange County Grand Jury reports. Those items do not require board approval, and that news came down on Friday after board agenda was printed. So those were approved or will be done by staff through the authority delegated by the board. That concludes my comments.
Thank you. Okay, at this time, we're going to go to trustee comments. I think we'll start with trustee Davis. Since she's on.
Trustee Davis, do you have any comments? None at this time.
Okay, thank you. Any other trustee? Okay, trustee Bolkus.
Hi, good evening. My comments are just short tonight, but what a wonderful time of year. As much as I love summer, and it is my favorite season because it gives me more opportunity to spend time with my kids, to visit schools on the first day back. It's so joyful. They are so exuberant, the kids, the efforts on the part of, as Dr. Brown was saying, the staff, the teachers, the PTSA. Some of our schools had for PK, TK, and kinder, don't cry kits, kind of in preparation. It's hard to say goodbye to your littlest ones the first day. I thought it was really sweet. The amount of photos, I spent more time on Instagram liking and seeing pictures by age or grade levels of teachers and the movement of assistant principals. Really great. I also want to do a shout out to another unsung hero category. And tonight that would be our crossing guards, because on the first day of Las Flores becoming a K-8 school, I was out there at noon duty because I was told they had like 8 minutes in between the release time between the two, and it was going crazy. And it certainly was, but those crossing guards, I have to tell you, they put their life on the line. And I've learned, and now I've got to go to an assembly person to follow up on Marla and Judy at Las Flores, the crossing guards there. In talking about the speed limits, and if anybody knows where Las Flores is, it's at the intersection of Oso and Antonio. And it's very busy, and as you head north on Antonio, it gets up as you go towards Sierras Creek to 60 miles an hour. Well, people kind of already are starting that back at the intersection where there's a school and it should be 25 miles an hour. But these crossing guards throughout, and every time when I drove around the last 2 days and I passed one by, I said, "Hi, thank you." And they are just as dedicated as teachers are to children. I mean, when you think about them getting up early in the morning and coming back later in the day, and sometimes the third portion of the day, I just want to say thank you to all of them, because they keep our kids safe on the streets. And so the next time you pass by, you might do the same thing and thank them. So that is all I have tonight. I just look forward to all of the wonderfulness in the year ahead, and performances and kids' growth and their exuberance. And they were all so excited. They had first good days. They said they were coming back. So I was happy. Thanks.
Thank you. Trustee Jones, did you comment?
So I will amplify what Trustee Bullock said about crossing guards. I have a good friend who's a crossing guard, and he calls me whenever he sees a problem to let me know what's going on. But I wanted to talk about the Sunday before school started. Harbor Point Church came and did a serve day at Kenosha Elementary School. And I went over and saw what they were doing. Can we see the next slide, Corey? They had, I went over because I thought there would be like 40, 50 people that I could read. They had as many as 1,000 people there. There were kids having fun. They were planting landscape. They were painting. Oh, this is their group photo. Can you believe that one church put this many people in one of our schools on a Sunday to do this work? And they transformed this school. They painted, they built new furniture, they did lots of planting. I think they had a good time. They were all really happy. And I just really want to give a shout out to them for what they did. I know they thought that our facilities department was great. Alex in particular got some kudos from them, but I was so moved by what that church did for this school. And, you know, it just gets me a little choked up. I know before COVID, they were also at San Juan Elementary, and I've been there and seen some of what they've done there. And I was so moved by what they did. Again, look at that crowd. Look at that crowd. All those people came to one of our schools and gave of their time and treasure to fix up a little Title I school where most of the kids are very, very low income, and it was moving. So that was Sunday. And then on Monday, I like to go over when the teachers are available and when they're not working with students, so I can talk to them. So I often take the day before school, which is often the first day of teacher service, and visit school. I visited San Juan Hills High School and talked to, I don't know, maybe 30, 40 teachers there. Miguel Hills Middle School, I had some wonderful ASB kids who took me around, because some of these schools, you can get lost if you haven't been there a lot. And then to San Juan Elementary School, and walked all around there and talked to most of their teachers actually, and found out what was going on with them, what were they happy about, what were they concerned about. But everybody was so happy to be coming back to school and really looking forward to this year. And again, it's a wonderful, moving experience to be able to talk to people and find out how excited they are to have school to be coming back to, and also to the people who were helping out at Serve Day at Kenosha School. Thanks.
Thank you. Trustee Parham?
I want to call attention to the fact that, we just opened up schools this week, and I usually only hear from parents when there's problems. And of course, I did hear from a number of parents, and there were some concerns and some, mistakes in some of the schools that I covered. But I want to call attention to the fact that I thought our senior leadership team did a great job responding to the parent concerns, addressing them, and communicating. Of course, there were still some mistakes, but given the magnitude of what is going on this week amid everything else, I found Dave Stewart and Greg Merwin and Superintendent Brown to be on the ball and very communicative, and I just really appreciate that. I think the parents need to know that they are being heard, and we are trying our best to address your concerns, and I think this week we succeeded, so thank you for that.
Okay, thank you. Trustee Hampton.
Thank you. I'll keep that going. I would like to take a moment and really thank Clark Hampton and his facilities team. I know without traditional community modernization funds that basically every school district in California enjoys, your job that you are tasked to do each and every day just to address the maintenance and deferred maintenance of our schools is truly Herculean. Balancing that with the desires of parents and students to have better classrooms, theaters, gyms, pools, bleachers, etc., is almost heartbreaking, especially when there's really is, for us, only state matching funds. These matching funds are pretty much it. That is why I'm so grateful to see the San Clemente High School gym on the agenda. I know that I got a little strident in that December meeting. I listened to it again to make sure I wasn't totally screaming when the solar funds were presented for the kitchen. Obviously a much needed thing, but frankly, if board members are asleep at the wheel, if we don't champion what's truly needed when these few opportunities will go elsewhere. So thank you so much, Clark. Even though I kind of threw a fit, you definitely redirected, and we are now able to have an opportunity to address this structure. Plus, versus that kitchen or bleachers, this project will garner some matching funds. So my intense appreciation. This is an incredible moment. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Trustee Pritchard, do you have any comments this evening? No, okay. All right, student board member Pierce.
Yes, thank you.
Uh-huh.
As you may know, the school year started yesterday. Students, staff, and teachers all seem well equipped and ready to learn this year. Last week, I attended a productive ASB president's meeting where we discussed plans for the students this year. We were very excited to give students opportunities to partake in these events as the school year unfolds. That concludes that.
Thank you. Okay, we are now moving on to oral communications. The total time for oral communications shall be 20 minutes. Individual presentations are limited to a maximum of 3 minutes per individual, but could be less if there's a larger number of speakers. Mrs. Harrison, speaker cards do we have?
We have 25.
Okay. So are we're gonna go with our 1 minute? Yes,
Over the board's 1 minute.
yes.
The recommendation.
Board calls, yes, okay. All right. Is that good with board? We're all in favor of that? Okay, perfect. All right, Ms. Hayes.
I would like to call 5 names at a time and have you line up, but I'm going to start with the first 10. Luca Klaus, Michelle Flossel Campbell, Lindsay Butterfield, Katie Crockett, Kim, Amber, Joy and Rhonda together, Daniel, Stephanie, and Lynn. So our first 10, we'll start with Luca. Luca, please come on up.
Good evening, Superintendent Brown, President Castellano, the Board of Trustees. You hold the power to shape the future of our community, our children, and the generation to come. I stand before you today to advocate for education and well-being of our students in a safe learning environment. A safe learning environment is an indispensable foundation for student success. Yes, today across the district, we had hot and humid classrooms. Teachers are melting and students are sweating. Moreover, California had a rainy year last year and will have another rainy year this year, which translates into leaky roofs. Outdated classrooms, crumbling structures, and inadequate resources hinder the potential of both educators and students. Our facilities are old and are not safe. The liability alone should scare you, if not the concern for teachers and students. Our children, teachers, staff, and community deserves better. I want to ask you today, how are you planning to fund our school facility needs without a bond? We can't wait anymore. Our schools are old. Thank you.
Thank you, Luca. Michelle Colosso-Campbell.
Good evening, Superintendent Brown, President Castellanos. Yay, we started a new year. Our PTAs have been busting their butts the last couple of months, and I will say the last couple of weeks, and this week in particular, has been a little challenging for our PTAs. But they pulled it together to make sure our teachers and students were welcome back, that there were breakfasts and lunches provided to our teachers either on Friday or this Monday, that everybody felt welcomed and included. So it's really important. We're really excited for an awesome year with our teachers, watching our students learn and thrive. And so we know we will have a fantastic year this year. But it all matters that our community comes together, and that is done through membership. So if you have yet to join, please join. I will say more on this later, but I want to thank right now all of the teachers at Wood Canyon Elementary who have today joined their PTA. That is phenomenal. It's early, and thank you.
Lindsay Butterfield.
All right, here we go. Okay. I've been attending these meetings with regularity for a few months, observing the primary issues of the community concerns, and I'm surprised that nobody else has spoken on the issue that is my primary concern and the reason that I've even come here. And that is the leading cause of death of children in the United States, which is gun violence. It is objectively true. That is the leading cause of death for children in the United States. I just want to share a few statistics. This comes from the CDC, the American Academy of Pediatrics, the New England Journal of Medicine. Sorry, I'm talking very fast. Each day, 12 children die from gun violence in the United States. 32 are shot and injured. Since Columbine in 1999, more than 338,000 students in the United States have experienced gun violence. 338,000. There were more school shootings last year in 2022 than any other year since 1999 when we started taking this data. And in 2022, 34 students and adults died, and more than 43,000 students were exposed to gunfire at school. Ah, shit. Well, that's my point. Sorry.
Katie.
Good evening, Superintendent Brown and Board of Trustees. First, welcome to our new superintendent. Looking forward to the perspective and professionalism you'll bring to the district and hopefully decorum at these meetings. I'm a parent of 2 kids at Essentia. We are excited for this new school year. My kids once again report loving their teachers. Thank you for training. One of my kids' teachers was a student teacher last year, attracting and retaining some of the best professionals to educate our kids. I believe in the public school model, and I think it's really important that we keep our focus this year on continuing the good work that is being done and try to keep the distractions to a minimum. I review the agenda for each meeting, and I never know what order will be called in or what the outrage du jour will be on any given week, so forgive me. But just to touch on a couple of things, I don't think we need a parent bill of rights. I sent.
Our next
Thank you.
speaker is Kim. Kim.
Hello, my name is Kim, and I'm a proud, freedom-loving bonus mom. I'm here to listen, learn, and find solutions together with kindness and curiosity. If you would have told me 5 years ago I'd be speaking at a school board meeting, I would have laughed. I'm not laughing now. I'm here today to stand up, link arms with other moms and dads to say enough is enough. We are fighting to protect parental rights, stop sexualizing our children, indoctrinating them, and bringing back common sense to school boards and to schools. Please adopt a parental notification like Chino Valley, Murrieta, and other schools following suit. There should be no secrets between parents. I got a call today about our son that he threw up. He called a simple throw up and we're getting a phone call. So I assure you that God makes no mistakes when it comes to being born in the body. And when I hear about things that are happening to this confused time, I know that at 56 years old, I'm still discovering who I am. So how can we expect that of 5 to 12-year-olds? Thank you so much.
Amber. Amber.
Okay. Parental rights notifications. Last year, my daughter's teacher asked them to, or her to fill out a form asking what pronouns the kids go by. This year, I see that some teachers are taking it a step further and asking them what names the kids want to go by and if they are allowed to address them by that name to their parents. This is absolutely absurd. The parents are the ones that have raised them from day one and have been through all of the good times and the bad times with their children. The parents 100% have the right to know if their child is behaving differently at school than they are at home. We are the ones that care for the children, and if the child needs mental health care, we, the parents, are the ones that handle this and pay for the health care of the child. As Krista said earlier, the teacher's job is to teach the students, not help them hide important issues about their mental health from their parents. We need a policy implemented for a parental notification, just like the other districts have.
Hey, for you. Good evening, President Castellanos, Superintendent Brown, and esteemed CUSD trustees. We stand before you today as elected presidents of the local associations that work in our amazing district.
We are committed to bringing together union and management leaders to co-develop structures and practices that lift staff voices and build systems for continuous improvement to create better outcomes for students and staff, parents, and communities.
To that end, and with board support, just this past June, over the course of 3 days, we attended the California Labor Management Initiative training, also known as LMI. We sat alongside district leadership as a collaborative team exploring research and best practices to build enduring cross-sector union management partnerships in CUSD schools.
It is our intention to update the board frequently about this work and provide further insights into the specific norms we have, the 3 pillars of collaboration that guide this work, the research that supports LMI, and future training opportunities. Thank you.
Thank you.
Daniel.
Yes, thank you. I wanted to speak also on parental rights. There's been a number of comments this evening on it. Unfortunately, in the times that we live in, a parental rights policy in the school district is necessary. It is absolutely necessary. As mentioned earlier, several of the other school districts have already passed some. Orange Unified most recently passed one just a few months ago. And they're also working on drafting a student bill of rights because of the fallout from what happened at Edison High School and the Huntington Beach Union. So I would encourage each and every board member on this board to consider and draft such a parent's bill of rights in this district. I will send you all a copy of the bill of rights that was passed in Orange as a template, so for you to work on. Okay, thank you.
Good evening. Thank you for allowing me to speak tonight. I am the mother of 2 daughters at Harris Creek Elementary School. This is my first board meeting, and I expect it to be the first of many as I join these fellow moms and dads in standing up for our children and making sure that they are there getting education and allowing us to be parents involved all the way through their educational career here in the district. I am here also encouraging and asking you to adopt a parental notification policy that makes it very clear that we are here to parent and you are here to teach. Thank you.
Following Lynn, we have Michelle, Amanda, Linda, Allison, and Lisa. Lynn, go ahead.
Thank you. So I've spoken before you last year. I'm a product of Orange County Schools. I went through elementary, middle school, high school, and graduated from UCI. So I stand before you saddened by what's going on in schools in this country and here in California, but I'm proud of the teachers that I know who invest so much in the children here in our district. I am very involved with homeless families in our community through Teen Challenge, Victory House, Orange County Mission, the Union Rescue Mission in LA, and I see what happens to fractured families and how hard they have to work to be reunited and reunified. So I'm asking you to support the fundamental rights of parents. Don't take any steps to divide them and keep them informed and involved in all aspects of their pupils' education. Thank you.
Amanda?
Good evening, trustees. I strongly encourage this board to oppose AB 1078 so that Capo Unified School District and the board will have full authority over the school district, which is what you have been elected to do, have full authority. San Clemente passed a resolution in April of this year to protect parents and teachers. That is at the city level. I hope this board would have the courage to do the same for this school district. AB 1078, should this bill be enacted, will remove local authority, and the state will use financial penalties against districts who have autonomy. Once again, the government is usurping what local parents and teachers want. The legislation proposes to require local educational agencies and districts to receive approval from California State Board of Education before removing instructional materials, stopping the teaching of certain curricula, and removing books and other publications from libraries. Please help parents and teachers create some guardrails from the state's typical overreach. Thank you, and God bless you in this school year.
Amanda Thompson?
Hi, I'm Amanda. I have two students at Bathgate Elementary. My daughter's in first and my son is in fifth grade. And I'm here, this is, I think, my second or third. I don't have anything prepared, but I wanted to speak up and talk about parental rights. I also want to encourage you to oppose Bill AB 1078. I think it's very important to keep the control within the district and strong communication with the parents. I am concerned about the fifth grade SEL questionnaire that's sent out to the fifth graders. I feel like that there's not a lot of communication to the parents about the questions that are on that questionnaire. Also, there has been a couple threats at our school as far as students bringing firearms to school, but whether they were real or not, those emergencies were not communicated with the parents and they were shared. So I just feel like there should be better communication between the schools and the district and the parents. Thanks.
Allison and Allison?
Linda, maybe we're out of order here.
And you're Linda?
Linda.
Okay.
Mhm. Thank you. Sex is determined at birth and it's permanent. You cannot change your sex. God does not make mistakes. Stop pushing this on children. This is wrong. I'd like to recommend a book, Dr. Marian Grossman's book, Lost in Transnation. There is a chapter dealing with schools to learn about child and parental rights. There's also a chapter dealing with Child Protective Services, CPS. And that is what will be happening in this state if parental rights are denied. Governor Newsom recently said that he's all for parental involvement. Notice how he did not use the word parental rights. Protect our children, protect their innocence, stand up for parental rights and parental notification. Thank you.
Let's say on my list, I have Allison.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Good evening. I'm the mom to a second and third grader in the district. I'm just backing up all these other moms and dads and support for parental rights. It was unfortunate when this board kind of tucked its tail with the CDPH during COVID, and I hope you don't tuck your tail during this.
Lisa?
Good evening. My name is Lisa, and I'm a parent of two students at Ascensia K through 8. Yesterday, a new middle school English teacher named Mr. Shepard required students to answer a survey that stated the following. What is your preferred name? A name you would like to be called other than your legal name. Would you like to be called this name in front of the class and your parents? Please check 1. You can call me this in front of the class. You could not call me this in front of the class. You can call me this in front of my parents. You cannot call me this in front of my parents. To me, this is simple. This teacher is a trusted adult adult, implying that he will keep a secret from these minor children's parents. I'm angry and scared that this is someone hired to teach our minor children. This man was hired to teach English. This has nothing to do with English and everything to do with alienating parents from their minor children, as well as trying to gain their trust and manipulate them. I'm asking that this board adopt policy around parental notification. How do I know this teacher will not repeatedly disregard board policy? Clearly, there is not a parental notification policy in place here. Otherwise, he would not be able to imply that he would be keeping these preferred name from his parents. Thank you.
May we read the next 5 speakers? Dabu or Darren or Dave? Gavin? Okay, Adam, Kurtz, Shane, Eva, Jean, and Linda. Ken? You state your name, sir.
Adam Kurtz.
Thank you.
Good evening. I'm going to keep my comments short. It was brought to my attention yesterday, the survey that was given at Essentia Elementary yesterday. Just happens to be right outside my kitchen window, and I'm so proud of this school and this community. But the survey does bother me. It's a proposition on our children. It's an implied secret, and it's wrong, and it's a slippery slope. And I think that if we stay on this path, I mean, what's next? Compelled speech, children getting in trouble for not calling this student their preferred pronoun. The survey had an option. You have 35 options of what you'd like to be called your pronoun. That was just in the survey. And then the question that really bothered me, can I use these pronouns in front of your parents? It's a proposition of a secret between a student and a teacher. And I have a problem with it.
So you can speak. Thank you.
Good evening. What I'm introducing to you is a resource that I printed from the Coalition of Parental Rights, a legal opinion memorandum and strong support of the Model California Parent Notification Policy. I'm bringing this to the board's attention based on the incident that you are now all aware of at Essentia Middle School yesterday, where 7th grade teacher, Mr. Shepard, introduced on day 1 of the school year an assignment that was not in line with district policy, teaching children about pronouns, asking their preferred pronouns, revealing their self-selected gender identity, then asking if he can share this with other students and parents by using that name in front of them, indicating that he would hide this information from parents if not. Upon one of my cohorts emailing you about this assignment, Trustee Jones responded giving the guidance put out by the California Department of Education, an FAQ that reference says AB 1266. One of the points being a parent's right to be notified. The guidance put out by the CDE is just that, guidance. It's not actually a law. What I gave you will show you an example of policy that could be written legally.
Hello. 3 local districts have recently implemented a parent's rights and or parent notification policy. We need this to happen at Capo. As you know, I run the Informed Parents of Capo USD Instagram, and I was extremely upset when multiple parents sent me messages today stating that their children had to take part in surveys on their first day of school yesterday. Students were asked their preferred pronouns, their preferred name, and if those pronouns and name could be disclosed to the parents. Are you kidding me? This also happened at Capo Valley High, by the way, not just at Essentia. First of all, this kind of survey does not follow district policy, and basically telling kids to keep secrets from parents who love them is just mind-boggling. But also, I'm wondering, what are the consequences for these teachers who are not following Capo policy? What's happening? We still have a teacher at another school who had a completely inappropriate library who had never any consequences. What's going to make them stop? What?
Our next speaker is Jean. Jean, go ahead.
Hi, board and superintendent. Why should a parent want to send their child to public school, specifically schools within the Capo Unified School District? CUSD has allowed an environment where children have access to pornographic materials. Why attend a school in a district that is introducing policies to promote division between the family and pit teachers against parents? There should be a partnership with the parents. Why attend a school district that will not protect children from the state's overreach by surrendering local control to the whims of the state's political influence? CUSD has opened the door for independent health clinics to operate on campus where medical treatment and mental health is dispensed to a 12-year-old child without disclosure to parents. For these reasons, I request that you establish a parent notification policy that has been adopted by other school boards near us. Thank you.
Thank you, Jean. Up next, I have Linda. I'm calling Linda. I have Linda B. So.
Board members, good evening. I'd like to propose for the next board meeting that you put on the agenda, a plan to present a school board policy on parental rights and education, safety, privacy, and respect for all students in the district. There are key precedents in U.S. law that affirm that parents are a child's primary caregiver and are responsible for that child's education and moral and religious instruction. Primarily, they are the 14th Amendment and 4 Supreme Court cases that specifically affirm the fundamental rights of parents as their child's caregivers. The 14th Amendment states in part, no state shall make or enforce any law which shall abridge the privileges and immunities of citizens of the U.S., nor shall any state deprive any person of life, liberty, or property without the due process of law, nor deny to any person within its jurisdiction the equal protection of the laws. Thank you for your unanimous support for parental rights policy.
Next is Linda E. Following Linda B, I have Heidi, Florida, Chrisanne. Linda B, go ahead.
Okay, my name is Linda Verasser and I am from San Clemente. I am the proud mom of a Triton graduate who received an incredible education in science, history, and language that prepared her for a top UC school and prepared her well for law school. The names Campbell, Sigafus, Ward, Prudian, and Young are like revered in my household. You have to admit that we do live in paradise, and it is a cultural bubble for sure. But when our kids leave home to go to college, they need to be prepared when they walk into their classroom with a cohort who has received a well-rounded education that reflects the world we live in today. They need to be able to compete in the marketplace. I'm here to say thank you to you. It's natural to advocate for your own child, but we are blessed to have you advocate for all children, regardless of their race, creed, or sexual orientation. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Heidi.
Hello, I am a proud retired educator who worked at an institution in Orange County, public institution. And I'm also a mother. And I would like to give you a present. This is a book written by a public school teacher, local OC resident. She lives down the way, a 3-year teacher union representative, and our hometown heroine. She was the lead plaintiff in a lawsuit that was heard at the U.S. Supreme Court in 2016, and it was eventually successful. Friedrichs versus the CTA. Now, no public employee can be forced to belong to a government union or be forced to pay any money to a government union because of the Janice case of 2017, which took her case to fruition. Please read this and pass it on. I'll give it to you in a second. She started an organization called For Kids and Country.
Your time is up.
Okay.
The book's up. I'll give them pass it to the next. And our next speaker is Florida. Our next speaker is Florida.
Hello, I am a parent of a student within the Orange schools. Orange County schools. I'm also a parent of a transgendered student. I just wanted to go ahead and let you know that my experience through that process, I did not know that my daughter was actually being groomed and groomed sexually until after she had left high school. It began with the GSA, Gay Student Union, as well as their relationship with Planned Parenthood and teachers unions, which I read in a book by Abigail Schreier. Basically, essentially what happened is I became aware after she left high school, she decided to have a double mastectomy at age 18 after being accepted to UCLA, dropped out because of course, a lot of this was overwhelming for her. And now she's trying to go ahead and figure out how to pay for these hormones continually, despite what everybody believes is not free. Thank you.
Chrisanne?
Hello, my name is Chrisanne McKay, and I am a parent of 2 high school students at San Clemente High. I am also a student myself in a program to get a master's in teaching and a credential to teach high school science. I come to you talking about, mainly I wanted to come and talk about the English curriculum that I see happening in the high school students, where they're being asked a lot of very personal questions that could lead to different types of discrimination, whether it be the typical type of discrimination or even new types of discrimination. And it's very concerning to me. And to hear that even in 5th grade, that teachers are asking some of these questions that are very personal in nature and that can be very offensive and invasive personally to each person. It's not fair and it's not correct. It's just people just need to be kind to one another. And then furthermore, parental rights, all about it.
That completes our speakers for oral communication.
Thank you, Ms. Hayes. Okay, we are now moving on to the consent calendar. So, oh, sorry.
Sorry, before we go on,
Sorry, Trustee Jones.
could respond to a couple things. One is there's the talk about the survey that was at Essentia and I guess also at Capo. I don't know about that one. And then also the comment about health clinics on our campuses. I think maybe Dr. Merwin can respond to that.
Thank you, Trustee Jones. So first of all, we have spoken to parents that have reached out regarding this concern. We have board policy 5180A, non-discrimination. That policy prohibits discrimination towards students, and the policy specifically includes the categories of gender identity and gender expression. The survey that has been brought in question does not follow our policy, and we are following up on this specific issue. So we cannot get into the details of what that looks like, but we are following up because it does not follow policy. Regarding the health clinics, what specifically on the question on the health clinics?
Well, it was a parent who spoke, not a parent, a community member who spoke at the last board meeting and asked a bunch of questions. And I know the trustees got an answer. Perhaps you can kind of recap the answer to that, because it sounds like now perhaps some other people have an idea that we're providing something that we may not be providing.
So happy to speak to that. So there's absolutely a misperception out there that there's some kind of health clinics that we're providing services, such as the ones that are implied here. We do have partnerships with the Wellness and Prevention Center, which is actually an intervention for students that has nothing, and that's more mental health therapy with parental consent. There is nothing going on that's implied by community members. Also, we do have wellness rooms that we are starting to bring to our schools. Those are in partnership with CHOC, College County Department of Education. There are absolutely no health services connected to those wellness rooms. So there is a complete misunderstanding regarding the purpose of those spaces.
Thank you.
Superintendent Brown.
No, I would just add to Dr. Merwin that in other areas outside Capo, there are health clinics on campuses, but that's very different than what's happening here. So that could be the source of that misunderstanding is, things get out in the media. But these are wellness centers specifically designed to help kids calm down and take a break when they need to in a structured manner, and then no medical advice is being given.
Okay, any other? Trustee Jones, are you good?
Board President Castellanos, a point of order.
Okay.
Name that I could not pronounce. I do have the correct name now. It's Darcy. I'd like to have that speaker come forward.
Of course.
Apologize for misreading the card. Darcy, you have 1 minute. Please go ahead.
Thank you. Good evening, and thank you for allowing me to speak. My name is Darcy, and I'm a parent of two children who attend Essentia Elementary and Middle School. One who's in 4th grade and the other who just started 6th grade yesterday. And I would like to obviously first and foremost reiterate the concerns and frustrations that were expressed by the other speakers regarding parental rights and notification. I would also like to add that under School Board Policy 51408, it states that the desire of the governing board is to provide an environment in which students feel comfortable. Yesterday, it was brought to my attention that many students left Essentia feeling very uncomfortable, nervous, awkward, and very confused. And those were quotes from students at Essentia. And that was very frustrating to me as a parent of two students who attend the school. Those students were students who were asked to complete that survey that was mentioned about their sexual orientation and pronouns, and also asked if they felt comfortable sharing that information with their parents. So thank you for considering to adopt a policy about parent notification rights. Thank you. And addressing that over there. Thank you.
No. Okay. We're now going to move on to the consent calendar. Please note per board policy 9323 and in accordance with the law, the public has the right to comment on any consent item. At the request of any member of the board, any item on the consent agenda shall be removed and given individual consideration for action as a regular agenda item. Each speaker is allotted between 1 and 3 minutes per item, depending on the number of individuals who request to speak. Mrs. Hayes, do we have any speaker cards for the consent calendar this evening? 3, okay.
Time.
Trustees, time, 3 minutes, 1 minute, 3 minutes, okay, 3 minutes.
Our first speaker is Michelle Flossel Campbell. Following Michelle is Amber, and following Amber is Eva.
Good evening. In the past month, PTAs across our district donated $52,132.48 to cover the costs of classroom materials and supplies, outdoor science camp, and Meet the Masters programs. As always, our PTAs are proud to partner with the district to provide excellent programs for our students to thrive and succeed. If you have yet to join your local PTA, please do so at www.jointotem.com and select under member your local community. Through Totem, you can join PTAs across California. Remember, you can be and should be a member of more than one PTA. So if you've yet to do so, join tonight. It's really easy. So I want to say once again, we are really happy to do what we can as PTAs, but we have to partner together, and we are an advocacy organization. And I am super proud as a PTA that we are able to do the work we do through advocacy and the people we have serving on our boards and our units. So thank you.
Amber Smith.
Hello. Oh, hello. I'm going to keep it short and sweet. In regards to the Poly Institute, I think this is the right time to talk about it. Once again, it seems that parental notification is being dismissed or hidden so deeply in the text of the documents that the majority of parents aren't going to see it. Parents trust the schools to protect the children, but it seems that protecting all the children isn't the priority anymore. Putting kids in a camp where there have been issues in the past with kids being asked their pronouns against parents' wishes and biological men or women camp leaders that identify as the opposite sex in the same cabins of children of the opposite sex raises some serious flags. There was a news article on February of 2022 in regards to this. Let me pull that up just really quick. According to the parents, let's see. The biological male counselor at Camp Pally in San Bernardino was granted sleeping arrangements according to the gender in which they identify. Susie Johnson, a mother of two, told hosts that she became aware of the issue after her daughter and friends were abused by a female counselor during the outing. The mother alleged the counselor threatened to slap the girls, pulled their braids, grabbed them by their feet and their bunks if they did not get up in time, and turned the shower off while they were still getting ready. The incident was allegedly not related to the non-binary counselors. I'm not going to continue to read. There's obviously been issues with this place, and I would really like for y'all to reconsider pushing this on, adding this to our kids' science education program. Maybe do a little bit of digging before we put our children in harm's way. That's it.
Eva Harrison.
I don't even know what to do with 3 minutes. We usually get one. Anyway, thank you for putting the information back there. I see one of you or somebody follows my Instagram account. I'm very excited about that. So this is how it went down yesterday. I received messages in regards to the 5th grade science camp that Capo USD sent out some sort of notification about the possibility of non-binary counselors and or students being placed in cabins along with other students at 5th grade science camp, as well as legal jargon explaining why it is lawful and why students or adults will be placed in female cabins as long as they primarily identify as females, and the same for the males. I was surprised. I'm a very vigilant parent. I have a 5th grader. This is something I would have surely noticed. I read everything carefully, but guess what? This is how it was sent to the parents, not in an email, not in something that went home in the backpacks. No, this was done in the most sneaky fashion. This was on the areas portal where we have to go in every year to do the data confirmation, and it was under the parent notification for 2023-24 at the very, very bottom. It literally took me 30 seconds to even scroll down to get to this notification. Are you telling me this was not calculated? It appears that you counted on the fact that nobody will read this. Somebody did. This was not done to protect non-binary children or to protect transgender children or to protect any of our children for that matter. This was done because a 5th grade science camp, Poly Institute, where many of our 5th graders go, which is what you're going to approve or ratify tonight, has been in the news last year. It was in the news. Amber just read you the article, and that's why you're trying to protect yourselves legally. That's what it seems like, at least. You chose to not look into different, instead of looking into different options, you chose to just send the legal jargon, and you didn't even send it. You just put it at the bottom of the notification. You should have, you chose not to look into different options for camps. You chose to not protect our children to keep them safe. You chose to not even just notify parents properly that this has been going on at this camp. Instead, this was added in a sneaky fashion, and I'm appalled, to be honest. I can't even tell you the comments I got on my social media post about this. The parents who were part of this article last year I encourage you to read it. There's a lot. There was a response from Poly directly. I understand they're saying this didn't happen or it didn't happen the way it was portrayed in the news, but something went on. Why are we spending $350,000? Is there no other option?
That concludes our speakers for consent.
Okay, thank you. Trustees, any consent items that you'd like to pull? None, seeing none. Okay, so at this time I need, sorry, Trustee Davis, go ahead. Please, go ahead. Okay, what was it? Do we know the number?
It's 12A1. I'm sorry, 12B13. 12B13. Yep.
Okay. Okay, thanks, trustee Davis. I got it. Correct. So I need a motion to approve consent items, and I'm gonna read this with the exception of the items that were pulled by staff, correct? 12B20, 12B21, 12B22, and also trustee Davis's poll is 12B13. So I just need a motion in a second.
She moved it.
That's the Pally.
She moved it. We need a second.
I'll second. Okay, I'm sorry, who moved it? Oh, Lisa did. Okay, thank you. Moved by trustee Davis, seconded by trustee Bolus. And Ms. Hayes, will you please call the roll?
Student board member Pierce.
Aye.
Trustee Bolus.
Aye.
Trustee Davis. Trustee Davis responded aye.
Okay.
T. Jones.
Aye.
Trustee Pritchard.
Aye.
Trustee Hannachek. Trustee Parham.
Aye.
Trustee Castellanos.
Aye. Motion carries 7-0 by roll call vote to approve the consent calendar with the exception of the items that were pulled, with student board member Pierce casting a preferential vote of aye to approve consent calendar. Okay, we are now going to go into discussion action items, and we did move this right. 13A, starting with 13A8. That's correct. Okay, at this time, the item is 13A8, and I'd like to recognize Clark Hampton, Deputy Superintendent, Business and Support Services, to present this item. Thank you.
Thank you, President Castellanos, trustees. So as you board remembers, last month you approved moving forward with refinancing the Talega Improvement Area bonds, and Keith Weaver from Government Financial Strategies, JPA, is here to present the results of that refinancing. Thank you.
Hi, good evening. Thanks for having me back. I have some great news to share with you, which is on the results of our Community Facilities District 90-2 Improvement Area 2002-1, which is located in Talega, and the refinancing bond sale results that we achieved. Just as a reminder, the goal of this effort was to help save some money for our taxpayers who live in this community. And we think it was a very successful effort. And so I have some highlights to share with you tonight. So I'll just briefly touch on the process that we went through to undertake this bond sale, talk about the results, and then wrap up with the conclusion. So in terms of process, just as a reminder, we do look to Government Finance Officers Association best practices, and we try to incorporate as many of these best practices as we can into our process. And a lot of these processes revolve around competition and cost management. And so we do try to include these as much as we can. We did go through a credit rating process, and these bonds were rated at a AA-, which is considered a high grade credit rating. So very happy with that result. Reasons include that this community has a very large and developed community facilities district with strong and healthy economic characteristics. So in terms of process, we had a competitive process to help refinance these bonds with banks and underwriters. That was held on July 27th. We try to do everything we can to help encourage competition with the goal that will help achieve the best results. Just a couple headlines that we saw leading up to this. The day before our sale, the Federal Reserve announced that they were raising their interest rate in July after a pause, a bit of a concern for us. And then the day of, we had some really better than expected economic growth hit the news, which is generally good news. But in our case, these types of things tend to put upward pressure on interest rates. So a bit of a concern, but in fact, when we look at the municipal market, And we have an index here. Interest rates had actually lowered since we presented to you a month prior, and remained well below where they were in 2013 when these bonds were originally issued. Interest rates have since ramped up and escalated, and so we kind of hit a bit of a low point and got a little bit lucky with the timing here to have relatively low interest rates. So in terms of results, we had 4 firms bid, one on the West Coast, a couple in the Midwest, and one on the East Coast. And the winning firm was a firm called Mesero, based in the Midwest out of Chicago. Not a big name, but they gave us a great interest rate of 2.49%. And we think that was fantastic. We've been budgeting for 3.5%. That I shared with you last time, and the last place bidder came in at 3.75%, over 1.6 million in difference between the bids. So we thought the bidding worked out great. We got a great interest rate, and really, really happy with that result. The savings ended up being just over $3 million. And so this is savings that will help benefit our taxpayers who live in the Talega community. It averages out to about $370,000 over the 9 years left on these bonds. So we look to a metric called net present value savings, which is a recommendation of best practices. We had suggested to you that we set a floor of where this metric was, the savings was 3%. We'd estimated we were around 4.25% when I presented last month, and we came in at over 10%. So a really fantastic result. And based on this metric, a really great time to be refinancing, and great savings for our taxpayers. So just quickly in terms of budget, we ended up issuing less bonds than we planned, which is great to help lower that debt. Cost came in lower across the board. We ended up needing to deposit less into our refinancing escrow because we ended up getting a higher interest earnings rate. That's the plus side of interest rates going up, is we can earn more interest. And so overall, we think this was an outstanding result. I do want to congratulate the board for taking on this effort. We think it was a big success. The average residents in this community, we had estimated, would save just under $100 per year. The end result ended up being about double that, so just under $200 per year, again, on average per home, that will get shaved off of people's property tax bills. So we think that's great. And again, in the community, over $3 million that will be saved in terms of taxes. So we think it's fantastic. You do have coming up on your agenda tonight some resolutions that will consider the levy of taxes for the CFDs for this upcoming fiscal year. And this savings has been incorporated into this community CFD 90-2 improvement area 2002-1. So we will have an opportunity to consider lowering taxes, which would be fantastic. So thank you, and happy to consider answering any questions.
Mrs. Sayes, do we have any? Sure, we have none. Okay, trustees. Trustee Parker.
Yeah, so can you speculate as to why Mesero could come in so aggressive versus Baird?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. And I'll share a little bit of behind the scenes. It's a great question. And this bid was almost, I would say, almost too low. And the sort of the behind the scenes, and this is the first time this has happened, by the way, to me in the 20 years that I've been doing this, is that we got a call from Mesero after they submitted the bid, after bidding had concluded, asking if they could change their bid. And we said, no, of course, that's what we said. We didn't think it'd be ethical. We were hearing from legal counsel that there'd be some problems legally from doing that. And they had an investor on their end who was considering backing out. And, we have a great team. We were on the phones asking, what's the issue? In our view, it was a non-issue. And so we stayed on the phone with them, kind of helping them educate, helping give them suggestions. And at the end of the day, the investor that was behind Mesero was able to buy these bonds, and Mesero was able to hold their bid. And so we were happy with that result. Again, I think it was a bit of luck that we were able to get such a great bid. We were able to dip the timing of the market, again, was particularly low. And I'll just also add, this is a blind bid. So Mesero didn't have any idea who the competition was or what they would be bidding. And so we often see, we can often see quite a range. This was a significant range between the first place bid and the last place bid, but it's not uncommon to see a significant range in bid because it is a blind bid. And, we have banks, both big and small, that participated in this bidding process. So, I think it was a great result. We're very happy that Mesero was able to stick with their bid. There was a bit of an open question. We did have the second place bidder on standby just in case. But at the end of the day, they stuck with it, and we're happy to take the result. And we'll get to
It's not like the best efforts or something. It's a done deal. There's no way that we're taking on any risk by going with them.
Yeah. So what risk are we taking? At this point, we have asked them to give us a good faith deposit. So we do have that on hand. We are closing these bonds on August 22nd. So it's next week. So there's always a chance that something could go wrong, but we feel like we're very close to the finish line here. And again, we have that good faith deposit on hand just in case. But our expectation is that everything's a go, and Mesero will fund this on August 22nd.
Okay. Great.
Okay, thank you.
Any other trustees?
So if they couldn't change their bid, but they could have dropped out and then we would have taken the next one.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a possibility they could have dropped out. We had the second place bidder on standby just in case, but really happy that they were able to stick with it.
Okay, thank you.
Okay,
This
thanks
is,
again.
Informational only, so there's no board action required. Okay. All right, moving on to 13A9. Again, I'd like to recognize Clark Hampton, Deputy Superintendent, Business and Support Services, to present this item.
Thank you, President Castellanos. So this item and the next 6 items are just establishing the levy for next year for each of the CFDs. So this one is for CFD Talega 90-2. And I do have to say the change in the average levy if the board wishes to hear it. Otherwise, we can just move through the items. And staff recommends approval for each one.
I'll move the item.
Okay, I'll second. Okay, moved by Trustee Jones, seconded by Trustee Bullock. This Trustee Davis. No?
Trustee Davis, did you have a question?
I couldn't.
Okay. She might be getting some feedback.
Okay.
Microphones?
Okay. There are some speaker cards for this one. Okay. All right. Ms. Hayes, will you call the roll?
Could I have who motion?
Oh, I'm sorry. Trustee Jones and Trustee Bullock.
Thank you.
Yep. Oh, sorry, Trustee Christian has a question.
Clark,
Clark,
this doesn't require any refusal from board members of real property. This doesn't require any refusing from board members, does it?
Refusal.
Yeah.
No, this is for the, no, it doesn't.
Okay.
This is for the Talega neighborhood.
no. Okay,
Student Board Member Pierce.
Aye.
Trustee Bullockis.
aye.
Trustee Davis. Trustee Davis, can you hear us? Does it require, if you live in Talega, does it require a recusal? And Deputy Superintendent Hampton said it does not require a recusal.
Live or own property.
Well, they live or own, but.
Live or own.
But Clark, it doesn't for any of us, right? No matter what.
So the question was about recusal. And it's not needed. Correct, but it's not needed. You do not live in this CFD Talega.
Yeah.
Do you live in Talega 90-2? Or own property, live or own property?
I don't believe it really matters. Based on the nature of this.
Yeah. Okay. Okay,
Go ahead, trustee Davis. Yes. Yes, I think it's a fair question to ask from the dais because trustees are asking for themselves personally on any of these CFDs, if they would need to recuse themselves, or if it's the law that you should recuse yourself. Okay, so Deputy Superintendent Hampton has confirmed it's not required when we're doing these levies. So do you have a vote of aye? Trustee Jones. Aye. Trustee Pritchard.
Aye.
Trustee Hanachek. Aye. Trustee Parham.
Aye.
Trustee Castellanos.
aye. Motion carries 7-0 by roll call vote with student board member Pierce casting preferential vote of aye. Okay, we're now moving on to 13A10. Again, our Campton.
Board's welcome to move forward with each one.
Okay. Okay, I don't have to call on you every single time.
Although I will say, this was the CFD that had to refinance, and there was a 10% savings of the levy
Okay.
to the taxpayers.
Okay, thank you. So I need a motion to adopt resolution 232404. Okay, moved by trustee Jones, a second. Seconded by trustee Parham. We don't have any speaker cards, I'm assuming. Okay, can you
Member Pierce.
Thank you.
Aye.
Trustee Bullockis.
Aye.
Trustee Davis. Trustee Jones. Aye. Trustee Pritchard.
Aye.
Trustee Hanachek. Aye. Trustee Parham.
Aye.
Trustee Castellanos.
Aye, motion carries 7-0 by roll call vote with student board member Pierce casting a preferential vote of aye. Moving on to 13A11, resolution 232405. Authorizing the levy of special taxes in Community Facilities District 98-1A. May I have a motion for this resolution?
Moved.
Okay, moved by trustee Hanachek, seconded by trustee Parham. I'm assuming no speaker cards. Okay. Roll call vote.
Student board member Pierce.
Aye.
Trustee Bullockis.
Aye.
Trustee Davis.
Aye.
Trustee Jones.
Aye.
Trustee Pritchard.
Aye.
Trustee Hanachek.
Aye.
Trustee Parham.
Aye.
Trustee Castellanos.
Aye. Motion carries 7-0 by roll call vote with student board member Pierce casting a preferential vote. Now we're moving on to 13A12. This is resolution 2324-06, resolution of the Board of Trustees of Capistrano Unified School District acting as a legislative body of Community Facilities District. This one's 98-1B, Pacifica San Juan. At this time, I need a motion. Okay, moved by trustee Hanachek, seconded by trustee Parham. No speaker cards, Ms. Hayes. Okay, roll call vote, please.
Student advisor Pierce.
Aye.
Trustee Bullockis.
Aye.
Trustee Davis.
Aye.
Trustee Jones.
Aye.
Trustee Pritchard.
Aye.
Trustee Hanachek. Aye.
Aye.
Trustee Castellanos.
Aye. Motion carries 7-0 by a roll call vote with student board member Pierce casting a preferential vote of aye. Now moving towards 13A13, resolution number 2324-07. Resolution of the Board of Trustees of the Capistrano Unified School District acting as legislative body of Community Facilities District. This one is 98-2, Ladera, District Ladera, authorizing levy special taxes in this community. May I have a motion to approve? Okay, moved by trustee Parham, seconded by trustee Hanachek. Any speaker cards? Okay, roll call vote.
Student board member Pierce.
Aye.
Trustee Bullockis.
Aye.
Trustee Davis.
Aye.
Trustee Jones.
Aye.
Trustee Pritchard.
Aye.
Trustee Hanachek. Trustee Parham.
Aye.
Trustee Castellanos.
Aye. Motion carries 7-0 by a roll call vote with student board member Pierce casting a preferential vote of aye. Now we are moving to 13A.14, resolution number 2324-08. Resolution of the Board of Trustees of the Capistrano Unified School District acting as the legislative body. This is district number 2004-1, Rancho Madrina levy. I have a motion moved by trustee Parham, seconded by trustee Hanachek. Any speaker cards? They're okay. Moving to roll call vote.
Student Board Member Pierce.
Aye.
Trustee Willicus.
Aye.
Trustee Davis. Trustee Jones.
Aye.
Trustee Pritchard.
Aye.
Trustee Hannah.
Aye.
Trustee Parham.
Aye.
Trustee Castellanos.
Aye. Motion carries 7-0 by a roll call vote with Student Board Member Pierce casting a preferential vote of aye. Now moving on to 13A15, resolution number 2324-09. Resolution of the Board of Trustees of the Capistrano Unified School District acting as the legislative body of Community Facilities District. This one is number 2005-1, Whispering Hills. May I have a motion? Okay, moved by trustee Parham, seconded by trustee Hannah. Any speakers? Okay, roll call vote, please.
Student Board Member Pierce. Trustee Willicus.
Aye.
Trustee Davis. Trustee Jones.
Aye.
Trustee Pritchard.
Aye.
Trustee Hannah.
Aye.
Trustee Parham.
Aye.
Trustee Castellanos.
Aye, motion carries 7-0 by a roll call vote with student member Pierce casting a preferential vote of aye. Okay, we are now going back to our beginning of our discussion action items, which was number 13A1, thank you. Okay, 13A1, which is instructional materials. What? Excuse me? Oh, 13A1 instructional materials recommended for adoption by the Instructional Materials Review Committee. At this time, I'd like to recognize Greg Merwin, Associate Superintendent of Ed Services, to present the item.
Thank you very much, President Castellanos, Trustee Superintendent Brown. Staff presents item A1, instructional materials recommended for adoption by the Instructional Materials Review Committee. So I'm joined by Dr. Perry Johnson, who is also the non-voting chair of the IMRC. We are also pleased to announce that joining us this evening are Aliso Niguel High School teacher Jasmine Earhart and Aliso Niguel High School Department Chair David Weinstein. They both joined us this evening in support of the recommended novel Poet X. Staff recommends approval and we are available for questions.
I'll make the motion. I'll move staff's recommendation.
Okay, do we have, no, we can have a second. Second, we're right, I'm right, I'm good, I got it. I need a second.
Do we have speakers on this?
Just a minute, we're not there yet, please. Okay, thank you, sorry. Moved by Hannah, seconded by trustee Parham, and now speaker cards.
Okay, we have 4 speaker cards for this item. In this order, Katie Crockett, Amber Smith, Eva Harrison, and Michelle Blossom Campbell.
Good evening. Good evening again. I'm Katie Crockett. Just wanted to voice my support for these materials and thank you to the committee for their diligent review before making their recommendation. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Amber Smith.
Okay, in regards to agenda item 13A1 with adopting these new books, the first book is Poet X for 9th graders. Here are a few excerpts from this book. Let's see. I am the baby fat that settled into D cups and swinging hips so that the boys who called me a whale in middle school now ask me to send them pictures of myself in a thong. Why should we wait for marriage? What if we want to smoke weed? Is masturbation a sin? I'm just saying, I'm ready to stop being a nun, kiss a boy, shoot. I'm ready to creep with him behind a stairwell and let him feel me up. Another one. Let's see. Partly flattered that they think I'm attractive, partly scared they're only interested in my ass and boobs. Another one. What if I like a boy too much and become addicted to sex like Ileana from Amsterdam Avenue? This one the boys will love. Good girls don't wear tampons. Are you still a virgin? Are you having relations? I didn't know how to answer her. Another one. The boy moves his body closer to mine and I can feel his hands drop down from my waist to my hips, then brushing up towards these boobs I hate that I now push at him like an offering. His hands move so close, our faces move closer, and then my phone alarm rings, waking me up for school. Another one. This one's good. In bed at night, my fingers search a heat I have no name for, sliding into a center, finding a hidden core or stem, or maybe the root. I'm learning to caress and breathe at the same time, how to be silent and feel something grow inside of me. And when it all builds up, I sink into my mattress. I feel such release, such a relief. I feel such a shame settle like a blanket covering me head to toe. To make myself feel this way is a dirty thing, right? Then why does it feel so good? Next book, not too long on this one, Never Let Me Go for 10 to 12. Characters talk a lot about having sex. One scene, a woman briefly describes masturbating her boyfriend. Well, while I'm on the topic of books, real quick, A Court of Mist and Fury. Los Flores, K through 8. Don Juan Avila, K through 8. Let's see. He stretched out above me, his head lowering to my breast, and all it took was one press of his teeth against my nipple before I was clawing at his back, before I hooked my legs around him and settled between them. I needed this. Here's another one. He gripped my thighs to spread my legs wide, lowering his mouth. And he looked up from between my legs, and I almost climaxed at the sight of it. K through 8. These children don't need to be reading this, just like the 2 books that y'all are about to adopt. These kids don't need to be reading this. When y'all say you're not sexualizing our children, I'm proving you wrong by reading this sexually explicit material.
Our next speaker is Eva Harrison.
I don't think I have much to add to that. I mean, you heard it. Is it necessary? Is it necessary? Is it necessary? We're not book banners. I know you like to call us book banners, but we don't want sexually explicit books in school. It's that easy in school. Are you telling me there are no other books that are appropriate for our kids that we could add to the curriculum besides something like this? Really? It's hard to imagine. Why is this okay? I also, because of this, want to urge you to oppose AB 1078. We don't want to lose local control over curriculum and our libraries. We, the parents, know what's best for our students locally, and the state illegally wants to hijack parents' rights. I do not and will never co-parent with the government. We know that the letters that you guys sent to Governor Newsom's office in regards to the COVID vaccines were a big part of the reason those vaccines were never mandated by the state in the end. We need you to take a stand against tyranny for our children once again. Lastly, since I still have plenty of time, Shan handed you materials earlier. We would like the opportunity to meet with Dr. Brown and any of the trustees to discuss the parental rights policy documents you were given. Please let us know. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Michelle Flossel Campbell.
Good evening. I'm going to start this with prefacing that I'm speaking as a parent, representing only my own family, my kids, my 2 boys in this district. I so appreciate the teachers who want to push and change the books that we have read forever in this district, who are wanting to add books like Poet X or Return to Sender. I read Return to Sender with my child who just finished 7th grade and is now in 8th grade this year. And I really wish his English teacher was doing it this coming year. But unfortunately, he's not going to be in 7th grade twice, though I would love to keep him little as long as I could. I appreciate that our teachers are wanting to challenge thought, to push the envelope, to really expand and expose our children to more than what we have always read. I just got from my English teacher for 10th grade the books that we're reading this year. Great, it's Macbeth again. It's Catcher in the Rye again. It's Lord of the Flies again. I read those in English in 1987. To date myself a little, I went and found the copy of Lord of the Flies still on my bookshelf. those are old books. Our kids are facing such a different world today. I want to see diverse authors of diverse backgrounds. And I am so thankful that our IMRC is recommending for approval these 3 books that are by diverse authors with diverse opinions. And the great thing is, our kids can be reading this in class. They can be reading it at home, and it makes great discussions for parents to go, this is what I believe. This is how I think. This is how our community thinks. This is our family values, and have that discussion. Maybe it should be not just a book that we read with our teacher and student. Maybe we should be assigning homework to the parents to read these books with their students and having nightly book discussions. That might be a great way to expand what our kids are reading. So I want to say thank you for the process you guys use for the IMRC, and that we are expanding this with our wonderful teachers guiding conversations and hopefully sending home conversation starters for parents to expand and have those conversations at home at the dining room table. So thank you, and please approve all 3 of these books.
Okay, thank you. Trustee, discussion. No? Oh, trustee Jones.
So my name gets called here a lot, and that's fine. I'm not embarrassed by my name being said in this board meeting. I think though that the audience needs to understand that while it doesn't bother me, it may bother other trustees, and I think that when you call me out, it can have a chilling effect on the whole board. It doesn't have a chilling effect on me. I've told the superintendent I'm either very fearless or very foolish, or possibly both. So I read the Poet-X, and I reread some of it recently because I knew it was coming up tonight. And I think the thing, those things that were read are actually in the book. I agree with that. But the message to me in the Poet-X is that she says no. And young people do get pushed to do things, whether it's defacing public property or stealing something or forced into a physical relationship that they don't feel ready for. They get challenged to do this stuff. And I think it's valuable for them to read about a fictional character who said no, and no was listened to. And that, I thought that was really great in this book. And I think we have to take it as a whole thing, that yes, these things are there, but the young person stood up, and that's the message. The message is not that these things will never happen, that we don't hear these words, la, 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 but that if it happens to you, you can say no, that a fictional person said no, and it was respected. So I'm happy with it. I haven't read the other 2 books. But they're for slightly older, well, we're return to senders for middle school. But I'm happy with the Poet-X because I think that message of it is okay to say no, and no can and will and should be respected is a good one. So that's all I have to say.
Okay, thank you. Any other trustees? Trustee Volkes?
I was really torn on these, and I had them in my home this summer after my IMRC had read them. And we had dialogue back and forth about the Poet-X. And I want to share just a couple comments that she had shared with me. Our main character is a teenage girl awakening to her sexuality and her voice versus Christian upbringing that leads to clashes with her mother. And I had a very strong mother, and somewhere along the line, you kind of have to learn because you're guided by your parents, and yet oftentimes you're questioning teenagers. They think they know, and oftentimes I learned, oh, my mother was right. But sometimes you have to find it out yourself. And to Trustee Jones, point, while some of the language that was read is kind of like, yeah, okay. No, I don't want to sit and read that with my kid. But the story is about the process of this young teenager finding her voice. And it's through the poetry and the spoken word. And, you know, she ultimately learns how to stand up for herself. She chooses abstinence, as Trustee Jones said, but it's through her own process. And our young people today and our young daughters, they go through that. And they're hearing language like this. I thought the overall book was good for a daughter. I don't like some of the language, it kind of makes me uncomfortable. But I was prepared to vote yes, just because of what I think young girls process in their minds today. And this is guided, you know, in school. So, and the return to sender about the Mexican worker, and I've seen movies, and even though one might be against people not being legal, you get attached to people and the whole storyline of what these illegal immigrants do to save the farm and everything. Again, I think it's a really good story, and it's very real today that we, you know, go through this thought process of, you know, what's legal and yet what's humanistic in attachment with people and appreciating them. And so I am actually, I'm sharing with you my thoughts, but I am voting yes on these three books. Thank you.
Trustee Parham?
So I have a question, maybe it's for Dr. Merwin. When we vote on, let's say this one, the Poet-X, this is not suggesting that every kid in ninth grade is required to read this book, right? This is just saying that this book is available for those kids on a syllabus, that they can select any of the books on that syllabus for that class. Is that correct?
I'll ask Dr. Johnson, you share a little more on how that works. Great question, Ms. Parham. Yes, it goes on, it becomes a supplemental adoption, meaning that teachers can choose to include it in their syllabus, but it's not required for every class, but it becomes available to all schools at that grade level it's approved for.
Well, let me ask more specifically. If you're a kid in class and your teacher says you have to read a book, do they have a choice of which books to select, or are they required to read the specific book that the teacher says?
If a teacher selected for the syllabus, it would be required reading, but most teachers have it in their syllabus. If there are issues or concerns, the parents can contact them, or the student themselves can contact the teacher if they have concerns.
And there's usually more than one book on that supplemental list.
Yes, absolutely.
So there are choices.
Well, within the course, no, there's a supplemental novel list that teachers can choose to pick to put on their syllabus.
But once it's on the syllabus, they have to read it.
Okay, well, that's helpful. And I do oppose 1078, but maybe for different reasons. I think the board should have local control.
Absolutely.
And I think this is a situation where I think it's important for us to select what are the appropriate books for our community.
Yes.
And in my case, you know, while some things may make me feel queasy and squeamish, that's the world we live in. And similar to what Trustee Bullicus and Jones have said, you know, I think making them available for students is doing them right rather than sheltering them too much. So I'm curious whether there are situations where parents voice specific concerns about a specific book and are allowing a replacement for those students whose parents are uncomfortable. Does that happen?
Yeah, I'm sure there are situations where that occurs. Absolutely, yes.
Well, I would encourage us to encourage the teachers to be flexible in those situations and in light of those parents' concerns.
They read it
But
aloud.
apart from that,
No, Eric, go ahead. Go ahead, trustee Barr.
I mean, I think flexibility is the key. But I don't think not allowing it to be available is fair either for all those students who would like to read it. And parents who would like their students to read it, so.
Trustee Parham, may I jump in quickly too and say there is board policy whenever a parent feels there's controversial material. There is a process that follows, and there's a conversation between the parent and the teacher first. Principal then gets involved per board policy to then one option in the board policy is an alternative assignment. That is in board policy, that is an option that is available. But first, teacher working with parents, and then principal supporting as well to kind of talk through what the material is, make sure that that it's the parent is fully aware of the material, to be aware of how the teacher is addressing it in syllabus, how the teachers to front load the parents regarding what it is and what the use is. And then if there's still concerns, then there is an option in board policy to allow an alternative assignment.
So, I mean, that again is all about choices, and I think that's the right way to do it. And I think I support this because I think there's a lot of students whose parents would like them to be able to read this book. So that's again a choice for them. So I'm supportive.
What happens
Okay,
when they read it?
trustee
in class?
Hannah.
They
Thank
read it
you.
aloud.
I would
I'm sorry, ma'am, but it's not time. We're not having discussion with the audience right now. You're not getting all.
I appreciate that.
Thank you.
I appreciate your comments. It's extremely helpful. Ironically, probably never let me go. Of course, it's with the older grades. That's tough going. Does it have sexual language in it? No, but it has concepts in it that should be probably more thought-provoking. And again, for young people, but the parents aren't going to pick up on that perhaps. I would love to close this up. We have a motion on the table. But before we go, I see here that the IMRC voted all the way through for all the ayes. If possible, could we have the educator up that will be using this book? I would really appreciate that if you feel comfortable coming up. I so appreciate you taking the time. You're back to school. Can't believe you're here. But it's really, really important. You're the world that, as a speaker earlier tonight talked about, we're preparing our young people for this rapidly changing world. It's a global world. They're already exposed to things beyond anything, but to have your guidance and a lovely, well-written narrative, I really appreciate that. So please go ahead.
Thank you, everyone, for weighing in on this. As we look to select a text, we not only wanted to select a text that was a person of color, a female, something that's relevant, somebody that's alive still that wrote the text. And while we found the Poet-X, it also works perfectly with our curriculum for 9th grade. We heavily focus on identity. The minute we get your students through our doors, we know they're sharing the hallways with 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th. Whatever words those 12th graders are using, those 9th graders are hearing them. I would rather teach a book like the Poet-X where there is a power of no, there is a power of questioning. And I think having a powerful female voice saying the word no means more than you know. Every text in the 9th grade curriculum is written by a white man. I am a person of color. I am a female. I have been to school through the UC system. I'm here, and I am here to represent those students. Not only do I want to represent people of color, I also want to keep our classic texts. I love them. I love literature. But for an example, this text would potentially take part with Of Mice and Men. Lubricated fingertips inside a glove. Think about that. Lubricated fingertips with Vaseline inside a glove. That is what one of our main characters, Curly, wears to pleasure his wife. That's what your 9th graders are getting that's already approved. I would rather the students read the Poet-X where I can cater it to which poems they're reading, and it's the power of no. The finger poem that was read earlier, yes, it is suggestive, but it is not lubricated Vaseline fingers. She's exploring herself as a person. She's coming of age as a sophomore. I think it's important. My 9th graders also read Oedipus Rex. He sleeps with his mother. not cute. There's no way to spin that to ninth graders to make that sound any better. I love my job and I love making them uncomfortable with thinking, why would we approve something like this? Let's talk about it. Why is this text important? What makes you unique? Let's talk about identity. And I think this text is going to be so much better for them because they can relate to it. There's music in there that they listen to. Kendrick Lamar, J. Cole, all those things. They're things I hear in the hallway myself. I think not approving this book would be a huge misjustice. I don't know what else more I could say other than you can't put an age on identity. As soon as we get them, they're already who they are. And parents have helped shape them. And I think earlier I heard reading something at home with them. I encourage it. Please get them to read at home. I'm absolutely for that. If you're a parent that's uncomfortable with this, our faculty is more than happy to work with you on something like that. Not every faculty member is going to read the entirety of this book either, but there is beauty in this text, absolutely. Being able to question who you are, what you believe in, and how you say no in a powerful way in front of your peers. I think that's invaluable to the people in our classroom.
Thank you. That is really excellent. And I have to confess, I did read all the books along with my kids too. I figure I bought them and I'm reading them. So it was really amazing. And I was personally exposed to literature that I had never read. Obviously grew up in a different time. Was very powerful experience, and we walked through that. So thank you so much. If you have something else to add, if not, thank you so much for taking your time to come, and your class sounds like it's going to be exceptional. Thank you.
Student advisor peers.
Yeah, I would just like to add, as a student and as a representative for the students, seeing these books on the agenda made me happy. I like that the reality of us students is reflected in the classroom where education is supposed to flourish. Like school, it's important to have students' perspectives shown and lived experiences also shown in the curriculum. It's important to teach the students reality. As myself, I love when I could open a book and read things that relate to me and show reality of teenagers. And also to add, in other books that I've read throughout school, teachers do inform students when inappropriate lines occur, even though there are such a few amount in the large books. And they say you can feel welcome to skim over them or not read them. And so that I feel like that is something that is told to most students in my lived experience through the K-12 system. And I think it's important to just reflect the world we live in as students in literature and books that we read in class, because education is supposed to teach us more than just inside the classroom. It's supposed to get us ready for the real world. And I feel like these books do its justice.
Thank you. I just have a quick comment to make, a couple of things. As a mom of high school students, it was hard for me when they get their reading list for the year, right? And I think it was the Great Gatsby. We had this conversation, and they just shook. They're like, "Mom, I cannot read this book. It's awful." I'm like, and I read the book, right? Like, it's a classic book. But there's nothing in the book, right? There's nothing that they can relate to anymore. So the children nowadays, we've got to give them authors that they can see themselves in, find themselves in these characters, correct? I love the messaging, how Trustee Jones pointed out. I think the power of no is phenomenal for high school girls. I don't think that message is given enough. And in poetry, you guys could probably speak to this, not an easy topic to teach in English, right? Very difficult difficult for me to really understand. So using this to kind of get them hooked in and interested, I'm excited for them to bring in this novel. And as a teacher, just also speaking from a teacher perspective, if I ever had a parent, to what Dr. Johnson was saying, that came to me and said, "I'm uncomfortable with this book," or "My student's uncomfortable with this book," I don't know anybody in this teaching profession that would say no to that student. It just wouldn't happen. I don't believe that would ever happen. Would never happen in my profession. And 25 years of teaching, I've never witnessed anybody who would do that to a student. So anyway, let's go ahead and take a roll call vote.
President Castillo.
Oh, yes, sorry.
It was trustee trustee Davis who pulled this. You may just want to check.
Oh, she didn't pull this item. She pulled a different one off consent. This is still discussion action.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And we
Okay,
have
I was thinking it was.
Yeah, yeah. No, that's okay.
And then just point of clarification, the second was Dr. Richard, not Mr. Parham.
Okay. Did you get that, Ms. Hayes?
I think you did. I think you just called it out.
She could. Yep, she got it.
Thank you.
Just a quick clarification, when the syllabus comes out on the first or second day of school, the parents see the books that are.
Correct. Most syllabus, I just signed them last night. We signed them. Correct.
Student Board Member Pierce.
Aye.
Trustee Bullockis.
Aye.
Trustee Davis. Nay. Trustee Jones.
Aye.
Trustee Pritchard.
Aye.
Trustee Hannachek.
Aye.
Trustee Parham.
Aye.
Trustee Castellanos.
Aye. Motion carries 6-1. By roll call vote with a preferential vote from Student Board Member Pierce. We are now moving to 13A2. And I'd like to recognize Bob Crespi, Associate Superintendent, Human Resource Services, to present this item.
Thank you, President.
Thank you, President Castellanos, trustees, Superintendent Brown. Staff presents item A2, the proposed deletion of board policy 4031, complaints concerning discrimination in employment, and move the contents of this board policy to administrative regulation 4030, non-discrimination in employment. This administrative regulation will provide greater clarity for employees who wish to file a discrimination complaint related to their employment, since now the administrative regulation is numerically aligned with the board policy 4030, non-discrimination in employment. Staff recommends approval.
Okay, so I need a motion to approve the deletion of board policy 4031, complaints concerning discrimination of employment.
So moved.
Okay, a second? Second. Motioned by trustee Hannachek, seconded by trustee Jones. Oh, and speaker cards, none, okay. Can we have a roll call vote? Oh, I'm sorry, discussion? Any discussion on this one? No, no trustees? Okay, roll call.
Student Board Member Pierce.
Aye.
Trustee Bullockis.
Aye.
Trustee Davis.
Aye.
Trustee Jones. Trustee Pritchard.
Aye.
Trustee Hannachek.
Aye.
Trustee Parham.
Aye.
Trustee Castellanos.
Aye, motion carries 7-0 by a roll call vote with a preferential vote of aye from Student Board Member Pierce. Okay, now we are moving to 13A3.
Could we also?
Yes.
A first reading, or second reading on this, can we go back and,
This is first reading, board policy 4030.
yeah, because we were unanimous on that, so let's just go ahead and vote on waiving second reading.
And we just deleted.
Oh,
Oh, it's the deletion.
it was a deletion.
So it doesn't.
Okay, thanks. Okay. Now moving on to 13A3, first reading, board policy 4030, non-discrimination in employment. Again, Bob Crespi.
Thank you, President Castellanos, trustees, and Superintendent Brown. Staff presents item A3, proposed revisions to board policy 4030, non-discrimination in employment. The proposed revisions fully define discrimination in the workplace, updates the definition of discrimination, and clarifies that discrimination is prohibited in all areas of employment, including hiring and promotions. Staff recommends approval.
Okay, this is a motion to adopt the policy in first reading and waive the second reading of board policy 4030, non-discrimination employment. Can I have a motion? Okay, moved by trustee Jones, seconded by trustee Hannachek. Any speaker cards? No. Okay, roll call vote, please, Ms. Hayes. Sorry, I'm skipping. Everyone's so quiet. Okay. Discussion? No. Okay, roll call vote.
Student Board Member Pierce.
Aye.
Trustee Bullockis.
Aye.
Trustee Davis. Trustee Jones.
Aye.
Trustee Pritchard.
Aye.
Trustee Hannachek.
Aye.
Trustee Parham.
Aye.
Trustee Castellanos.
Aye. Motion carries 7-0 by a roll call vote with a professional vote of aye from Student Board Member Pierce. Now we are moving on to 13A4, first reading board policy 4119.11, 4219.11, 4319.11, sexual harassment. Again, Associate Superintendent Bob Crespi of Human Resources.
Thank you, President Castellanos. Trustees and Superintendent Brown. Staff presents item A4, proposed revisions to board policy 4119.11, 4219.11, and 4319.11 sexual harassment. This moves the name of the district uniform complaint officer and Title IX coordinator to the administrative regulation 4119.11, 4219.11, and 4319.11. It also revises the definition of sexual harassment and clarifies the board's commitment to a safe and harassment-free work environment. Staff recommends approval.
This motion is to adopt policy on the first reading and waive the second reading of board policy 4119.11, 4219.11, and 4319.11 sexual harassment. May I have a motion? Okay, moved by trustee Parham. Seconded by trustee Hanachek. Any speaker cards? No, and discussion. Okay, seeing none, can I have a roll call vote, please, Ms. Hayes?
Student Board Member Pierce.
Aye.
Trustee Wilkes.
Aye.
Trustee Davis. Trustee Jones.
Aye.
Trustee Pritchard.
Aye.
Trustee Hanachek.
Aye.
Trustee Parham.
Aye.
Trustee Castellanos.
Aye. Motion carries 7-0 by a roll call vote with a preferential vote of aye from student board member Pierce. We are now moving on to 13A5. Which is our first reading board policy 4144, 4244, 4344 employee complaints. Again, recognizing Bob Presby, Associate Superintendent of HR.
Thank you, President Castellanos. Trustees and Superintendent Brown. Staff presents item A5, the new board policy for 4144, 4244, 4344 employee complaints. This board policy will establish the board's policy for employees to express concerns. The policy indicates that concerns first should be brought to the employee's supervisor for an informal resolution. The policy also indicates that employees who express a concern are protected from retaliation, that confidentiality will be maintained to the extent possible, and that all documents related to the employee's complaints are kept in a confidential file and not part of the employee's personnel file. Administrative Regulation 4144, 4244, and 4344 employee complaints will outline the complaint process, including the appeal process. Staff recommends approval.
So this motion is to adopt policy on first reading and waive the second reading of board policy 4144, 4244, and 2433 employee complaints. May I have a motion? Moved by trustee Hanachek, seconded by trustee Jones. Any speaker cards? None. Okay, discussion. Okay.
Just read the numbers.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did I?
In the script. So they all start with 4. Apologies.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry about that. But no discussion. Okay, Ms. Hayes, please call the roll.
Student Board Member Pierce.
Aye.
Trustee Wilkes.
Aye.
Trustee Davis. Aye. Trustee Jones.
Aye.
Trustee Pritchard.
Aye.
Trustee Hanachek. Trustee Parham.
Aye.
Trustee Castellanos.
Aye. Motion carries 7-0 by a roll call vote with a preferential vote of aye from student board member Pierce. We are now moving on to 13A6, which is resolution number 2324-12, meeting 2324 adopted budget fund balances. At this time, I'd like to recognize Clark Hampton, Deputy Superintendent of Business Services.
Thank you, President Castellanos. Trustees, this item is a recurring item. It commits certain parts of our ending fund balance for specified purposes only. Staff recommends approval. Thank you.
Trustee Jones, did you have a question? No, okay. I need a motion to adopt resolution number 2324-12, committing 23 adopted budget fund balances, moved by trustee Hanachek, seconded by trustee Parham. Any speaker cards? No. Trustee discussion? No. Okay. Roll call, please.
Student Board Member Pierce.
Aye.
Trustee Wilkes.
Aye.
Trustee Davis. Trustee Jones.
Aye.
Trustee Pritchard.
Aye.
Trustee Hanachek.
Aye.
Trustee Parham.
Aye.
Trustee Castellanos.
Aye. Motion carries 7-0 by a roll call vote with student board member Pierce casting a preferential vote of aye. We are now moving to 13A7, resolution 2324-13, preliminary 2022-23 financial statements, unaudited actuals. Again, recognizing Clark Hampton, Deputy Superintendent of Business Services.
Thank you, President Castellanos. So this item is mentioned as our unaudited actuals and the revisions to our current year budget. I'd like to introduce Philippa Townsend, the Assistant Superintendent for Fiscal Services, to provide a brief presentation to the board. I would also like to thank her and her staff for the work they do in closing the books for last year and getting these all lined up for the board. Thank you.
Thank you. Next slide, please. Projected enrollment for this year is 40,939, as you can see with the little bubble right there. As of today, we're really close to that number, so I hope that number sticks. Next slide, please. Our current and future attendance projections for revenue are at 93%. As you can see in the past, we were at 96%. We are hopeful that we can improve our attendance above 93% this year. If we can get to 94% attendance, it would bring in an additional $5 million in revenue. Next slide, please. The funded COLA for this year is 8.22%. However, in the following few years, the COLA will be closer to 3%. The expansion of transitional kindergarten is in year 2 of a 4-year rollout, and we currently have almost 900 students in the program. Next slide, please. So the Proposition 28 grant, the new arts and music funding, has been allocated to each school as we speak. It's just an estimated amount right now, but the schools are starting to hire staff and spend some of it on instructional materials on a supplement, not supplant basis. So as of right now, we don't know all the final rules, so we're being very cautious with the spending. Next slide, please. This is the budget that we presented to you in June. This is the projected fund balances. Next slide, please. And this is the budget as of unaudited actuals, the revised budget for 23-24. As you can see, the multi-year projection doesn't look much different than it did in June. Next slide, please. So the next update will be with updated enrollment, updated staffing, and will be in December for the first interim budget. And any other funding changes that we learn of in the next few months will be included. And if there are any questions, I would be happy to answer.
Okay. Well, actually, I need a motion.
I'll make a motion. And then we can.
Okay, go ahead. Moved by Hamachek and seconded by Parham. Go ahead.
Do we have an early number on attendance for this week?
No, not for attendance yet. No.
And just to kind of emphasize attendance, that at this point in the year, as we have kids not show up, unfortunately, they show up as no-shows, which that's why we say we hope the number sticks where it is, as we sort of settle into the first few weeks and know where our actual enrollment number is. And for the millions and millions of people watching on YouTube at home of our live stream, please send your kids to school. And Philippa might correct me on the number, but I think if we were to get to pre-COVID attendance rates, it'd be something like a $14 million change in our revenue. And that's to get back to where we were, not just above where we were. So send them to school, please.
Any other discussion? Trustee Hanachek?
You pretty much answered my question. Yes, go to school. And then I look forward to how we're going to be tackling our truancy and absenteeism and get our scholars back in the classroom where they need to be. I believe in going to school. What's the thing about just showing up? Isn't that what there's a saying about that? And it works. So I look forward to that.
And I can add a little to that now. I'm sure people want me to keep talking, but we have an incentive. So we believe the attendance is also very localized. So the schools really have the best understanding of how to outreach to their community and how to outreach to their kids and families. But we've offered a call it fund sharing incentive program. So if schools can boost their attendance, we'll actually allocate some of that money because I can directly to the school site for their own use and direction. So it's trying to incentivize them to really get out and encourage attendance and then give them some more autonomy over the way they use the funds that would come in from that attendance change.
Yeah. we didn't have any speaker cards, did we say? Okay. All right, any other discussion by trustees? No? All right, roll call vote, please.
Student Board Member Pierce,
Aye.
trustee Polakis,
Aye.
trustee Davis. Trustee Jones.
Aye.
Trustee Pritchard.
Aye.
Trustee Hannachek.
Aye.
Trustee Parham.
Aye.
Trustee Castellanos.
Aye. Motion carries 7-0 by a roll call vote with student board member Pierce casting a preferential vote of aye. Okay, we are now moving on to the item that was pulled, correct? And that was 13. Oh, 12B13. Correct. Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, correct. So in order to have a discussion on the item, I need a motion and a second. Okay, trustee Hannachek moved and a second,
Second.
seconded by trustee Polakis. Okay, discussion. Is there I guess trustee Davis, correct? Will be item.
Trustee Davis, would you like to comment on the item pulled, Pally Institute?
There, I would not recommend that we have our students attend that institution.
Okay, anything else, trustee Davis? She done? Okay, yes, go ahead.
So, and the materials I'm about to reference were left in the back of the room as well for people in the audience to see. So, what I left back there was the Pally Institute's policy on pronouns and on non-binary individuals. And I just want to read just a few highlights. And I also want to say, even in today's agenda, there are other options that are being approved. So Pally is one of 5 options that we've explored for outdoor ed. So there are different schools going to different options throughout. Part of it is preferential choice. Part of it is capacity of those to support all the different schools across all the different districts that do outdoor ed. Pally's just a few highlights based on things that came up. So Pally's policy for cabin assignments, Pally assigns female and male instructors to male cabins. Non-binary staff, if present, are assigned to cabins whose demographics match the instructor's sex assigned at birth. Staff are not permitted to announce pronouns to students who fall within the age groups of 4th to 8th grade. Staff may not educate on or discuss the topic of pronouns with visiting students regardless of age at any time. That they're trained to say, if they're asked about pronouns, that's a great question. You should ask your parents about that. And so the full policy is in the back so that you can see it, but Pally has taken great steps to try and remediate the perception that came from that news article from 2 years ago. They're very, very stringent in their pronoun policy and their non-binary policy in terms of how those individuals are paired with campers. In fact, I will defer to Dr. Merle.
Yes, we would not. We look obviously very closely at all the contracts. We would never work with an unaccredited camp. We work with our contracts department and also our curriculum instruction team works closely on all that. These camps have been working with them for many years as well.
I just have a comment. It appears to be excessively rigorous and how they're conducting their business. And I'm hoping that the takeaway with this evening, because there's a lot said that was now been refuted, that this is something that's amazing for young people to go to science camp. They love it. It's a kind of a rite of passage. They learn so much. For some children, it's the only overnight thing they will ever do. It's the only camp they will ever do. They'll never see snow. And I follow all the schools in their Instagram and their posts. My son personally threw up on the way back because it was a windy road, but they loved it. And I hope the takeaway, and if anybody still has questions, because it would be a crime if this was not offered for our children. It's work that we all do to fundraise so that everybody can go. And it's an incredible experience. So I appreciate follow-up on Poly Institute, and I hope that people continue to reach out if they still have questions.
Okay, any further, just go ahead.
May I also, trustees, just share a little bit more on what was shared this evening by the speakers. The annual notification that was mentioned in the parent portal, that is going above and beyond the requirements that we need to do. We include that for incoming fifth grade families, but that is not the only time that we notify them of state law. The speaker shared was at the very bottom, at the very end, as if it was trying to be a secret. Actually, we first started there. That's the first time parents see it. Then they receive a letter from the school, including the state law prior to signing up for camp. Then there is an orientation for parents at the school with the principal where the state law is again described. And this is a state law that would apply to any of the camps, not just Poly. Now, superintendent shared their policy is much more stringent than the state law. Okay, but we, out of abundance of caution and being transparent, we notified families again in the annual notification on parent portal, in a parent notice prior to signing up, and at the orientation meeting at the school site. So we are very transparent multiple times with families that they are aware of state law.
Parent meetings are pretty extensive at the site. So I would encourage parents, if there are questions, please reach out to your principal because all questions are answered and gone over and any concerns. So please contact your sites because it's very informative and they do a lot to prepare the fifth graders to go to camp. Trustee Jones.
When you say site, you mean school site, not the campsite.
Correct, school site.
So I've never seen this from Pally before. I'm not saying I don't believe it. I'm just saying I've never seen it. So is this new or was this the policy that they were using in the past? We know.
Do you know, Ms. Paris? I know that they shared the policy with us when the concerns that came up in 2022. And again, it wasn't last year, it was the year before, is when the issue occurred and then the media news came about. Policy after that fact and shared the policy with us. I don't know if it.
It doesn't have a date on it. I'm sorry, yes, it does, right at the last page, April 25th, 2022. My guess is that it was a result of this incident.
That's great.
Okay, all right, and I was more looking at this little one pager where they kind of summarized it. Oh yes, regarding the February 2022 news story. So it sounds as though they were just clarifying what was already there. Is that, or maybe we can't even really speculate.
I'm looking at the policy. I believe that it looks like they wrote this policy and did some staff training in response to the incident and the article that was written.
I see. Okay, yes. So you're saying, all right, so regarding the 2022, February 22 news story, and then, yes, so they wrote this in April. Of course, would be later. So they may then not have had a written policy, or they may have updated it or changed it or whatever. Right?
I can't confirm, but I'm guessing it's a little bit more specific.
Okay.
That would be my guess. I can confirm for that for you.
Okay, well, that does make sense to me. Okay.
Okay. Oh, Trustee Parham.
And for those students who don't want to go, is there an alternative for them?
They do, any family can opt their student out of the outdoor science camp trip, and then the school provides an alternative for them during those days that the other fifth graders are on.
So again, we provide the choice. So yeah, this is absolutely a highlight of the year for many students. I agree that it's something to look forward to.
Trustee Bolkus.
Thank you. I've had my light on for quite a while now. I want to give a little background because my children had attended Pally. Jennifer in 2010 and Teddy in 2012. This really didn't come about until obviously during COVID. We didn't send kids to science camp. They weren't in school. And then when laws became in place in regards to transgender and this is where this is culminated from. So I believe this kind of started in 2021 from Pally. Unfortunately, the constituents and parents that were here earlier, and they might be tuned in, while CUSD does advocate for these science camps, and truly my kids had a wonderful experience at Pally back 11 and 13 years ago. This is not something mandated through CUSD. And I would suggest to parents, if you really have a strong feeling about it, each school, each principal, each school site chooses, okay? Because Bathgate's not going there anymore, and some of the other Riley, Steele are not going there. In my area 7, Tierras Creek is still going there. Parents pay for this. One of the reasons they left Pally is it is very expensive. And you know, we have a position, all kids go or no kids go. And so for those who can't afford, there's all this additional fundraising that goes on to help make sure that every child, every student who wants to go can go. But there are other choices in terms of other facilities, what they provide, what they offer. So if parents, this is one of those things where you can indicate to your principal and parents can go to these meetings and ask what the other offerings are. And have a discussion. And I don't think the principal is going to be against it. They want to hear from the parents where they would like to send their kids. Of course, it's going to be a majority type thing. But I would like parents to know this is something where you can place a vote, you know, or you know, your input with where your kids are going. So I just wanted to add that this is not a mandate of CUSD, but it is a really wonderful experience. I was amazed. And unfortunately, I was on the science camp committee and doing the fundraising and all, and selling popsicles with kids and such. I was amazed at how many 5th graders had never stayed away from home, not even at a relative's house. And these parents who became unglued about sending their kids away for 5 days. I'm like, are you serious? But hey, so the kids have an awesome experience, and it really is great. But there are choices, and that's just what I wanted to add. Thank you.
Okay, roll call vote. Oh, I'm sorry, Trustee Davis.
Trustee Davis, did you have any further comment? Yes, go ahead.
To the points made by Trustee Hanachek and Trustee Bolakis, this is the first time many students are away from their families, and it's a very, very special experience. I appreciate Pally's change in their policy and their staff training, but with our previous experience at Pally, not just what was on the news, but with situations from students that attended Pally in the past and in that particular year, I would like to properly vet each option, and my vote is no for Pally Institute.
Okay, thank you. A roll call vote, please.
Trustee Davis cast her vote as no.
Okay.
Vote Student Board Member Pierce.
Aye.
Trustee Bolakis.
Aye.
Trustee Jones.
No.
Trustee Pritchard. Trustee Hanachek.
Aye.
Trustee Parham.
Aye.
Trustee Castellanos.
Aye. Passes 5-2. Okay, and that was, now we are going to adjournment. Correct? Okay, 9:30. There is no business before the board. Motion by Trustee Hanachek, seconded by Trustee Parham, but I do need to call a roll call vote.
Student Board Member Pierce.
Aye.
Trustee Bolakis.
Aye.
Trustee Davis. Trustee Jones.
Aye.
Trustee Pritchard.
Aye.
Trustee Hanachek.
Aye.
Trustee Parham.
Aye.
Trustee Castellanos.
Aye, motion carries 7-0 by roll call vote to adjourn the meeting, and with a preferential vote from Student Board Member Pierce, and the time is now 9:30. Oh, 9:29. Thank you.